again, is the familiarity of the people we have in Senate and in leadership. These are people, you've been a senator, I feel like my whole life. You've been a figure in the community. So I think when you get like this camaraderie, it becomes, this is their process. I believe they're going to do this for us. So I'm less likely to push back because I've seen it go down this way before. So I think because we see the same faces so often, people are a little bit less likely to hold the same accountability.
And to a certain degree, I think people are so discouraged that a smaller number of individuals are running for the Senate. The last election, there wasn't a Democratic primary in St. Thomas. Only 7 individuals signed up. So the pool has gotten a bit smaller, and we need to see what we need to do to revitalize that. I heard you say that you didn't vote, or you told a guy you didn't vote, but there's nothing that stops this generation from putting up their own candidate and getting behind that candidate and campaigning and making sure that your voice is going to be heard. Because when you look at the demographic, the smallest population is that 18 to 30. Barely anybody vote from that demographic.
Yeah. Mikey?
It's because it's such a vast departure. One, young people don't care. I could say...
Well, that's part of it. Young people don't care. But you got to care, because...
I'll take it back. There's a small majority that do actually care. But due to silence, due to pushback, due to complaint from your own community and your old age group, I say, you want to run for that? Not that. I'm voting for you. It becomes this whole paradigm of a domino effect where, well, I know if I run, nobody voting for me, I ain't going to bother. Or there's also the bartering of points as well. Some people will come out just, and that's how it works. That's even in a gubernatorial election, I can run, but the stronger candidate could be the stronger candidate. I'll give up to get you my votes, and I could get a job, and that's a duality.
And that happens.
It happens, and it's such a duality. I also think that's why young people don't. Not saying that I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing, but that's also part of it. I think Virgin Islands young people, Renell, I think, said it best, where you're not taught how to vote. Like, you just say, this is your voting card, this is what you need, but nobody don't, like how you go to driving school. I'm not saying you need to do school, but I'm saying, like, you're not, you know what I mean? You're not necessarily informed. This is how you go to a booth. This is how you vote, your conscience. It's always going to be your choice, but there's no clarity in some young people's mind about the process and the respect of voting. I think that's what's missing sometimes.
Is that written in the civics textbook, in the new civics? Is that part of the curriculum?
In terms of why you should vote?
Not why, but the process
and
here,
how to vote,
and not a national process.
Yes, it's there, but I think that you guys are the future, okay, long and short.
Currently, we're the present.
And you're the present and the future, because 40 years from now, some of you are going to be here. I more than likely won't. So you guys are the present and the future. So the development and the future of this territory is literally in your hands, whether you want it or not. Because whether you want something or not, you're a part of it. So now you got to decide, well, how are we going to be able to impact the now, and how are we going to be able to impact the future? How are we going to make sure that we are prepared for that next generation of leadership? Because if you don't get that, then you're going to have individuals from other jurisdictions that's going to come, and they're going to provide.
And they're coming.
The leadership. And they're here.
They're here.
And they're organized. So that is why we need to wake up, because they're very, very organized. So hopefully podcasts and stuff like what you guys are doing are going to encourage more individuals to vote. I mean, we have number 47 because there was a certain element of Black America and Hispanic America that went and voted for him.
They wanted it.
But now you're hearing the cries. But all elections have consequences. And people vote not realizing the consequence. And then shortly after, they're like, hey, I made a mistake. No, you got, as you said, you got to think through that process as to who you're going to elect. We have forums. I went to like 15 forums to the last Senate. But most of the time, it's like 10 or 15 individuals, and it's the same individuals that are there. So even if you have a good point, or you have a horrible point, or you're not prepared, or you're prepared, there's nobody there to see or make the determination that this person would be good as a senator. Oh, no, I think that person needs a little more preparation.
It's funny that you say that, because I've gone to them, I've listened, I've seen the live streams, but sometimes the reason I think people don't show up is it's not that they don't. There's a majority that don't care, but there's a majority that just have waved the white flag and said, "Here we go."
Someone just tired.
Yeah, someone just tired
Just
because they're just waving a white flag to
Apathy.
really say like, they going.
Yeah.
I like a man told me he'd bet me $10 that he could call the election before anybody get in, and he was right. Like he said one person seat is up, so yeah, you're not gonna be filled, but it's gonna be the same people. He said VLA gonna get back in and know that for sure. So I think it's that ebb and flow of being tired, you're angry, you're frustrated. Sometimes you feel you speak to your constituents, like you see people go out and they protest, and it's your right to protest. But sometimes I think it's funny that people don't engage in conversations with the protesters. They hear, they cry, but then they don't rebuttal or
they
try
come
to...
out drinking juice and big soda cups.
Yeah, it's such a weird duality, and I mean, when you hear the stories of the Virgin Islands from yesterday, either you always come at me about it, is like you don't know, you just don't know how we took it for granted. A lot of people say we took it for granted, and those sweet times are over.
They're gone.
Yeah, but there has to be a way to capture some of that lightning back in the battle.
We have regressed.
Mhm.
Okay, back in the 80s, back in the late 70s, you had a number of individuals that were career employees.
Mhm.
They worked at human services, they worked in education, they were public health nurses. They dedicated their life to that. And they understood the role of their job and wanted to do it very, very well. So it didn't make a difference who was here. They continued to do what they needed to do here. So a lot of stuff didn't fall apart. When I was a student, public health used to come in the school, check your ear, check your lights, check your teeth. They used to do everything. The immunization, shot right there. Youth Commission, you hear people call the Youth Commission. Well, Youth Commission was the Darwin King whose vision and put all his life into making sure that Youth Commission was what it, just a great entity. But you don't have that type of career employees anymore. And you're losing them more and more and more. So you have a lot of fluid individuals. And it's hard to build program with fluid individuals. When I opened Complex in 1995, I stayed there until 2011. And I was moved because of politics. But I stayed there until 2011. So I had a chance to really build a school, to build an academic program, build a music program. But when you are, if you're going to be moving administrators every 2-3 years, I could tell you administrators that have moved just repeatedly in the last 10 years, how are you going to build a program? You're not there long enough to actually be able to put a program together. You know, if he's my teacher, I need him to be with me 5-6 years so I could build a particular program, so I could build a subject area. But if I'm going to be moving him every 2-3 years, how do you build anything?
The thing, well, what we're dealing with is, why should I stay in a career or a job that doesn't reward me, that doesn't pay me, in an economy that's pricing me out,
That don't love me.
that don't love me? And
But that's always been the factors.
it's
just that this generation deals with it differently.
So speaking about this generation, because they're right here, let me ask you the question. Would you stay in education for the next 20 years?
I'm not in education now. I
know that.
got my degree and I spent a year waiting to get my papers to start, where I was calling every week for a year. I applied at another job, started work, and they called me on my second day at work saying, "Oh, do you want to be a substitute?" No! I spent a year calling you.
And this is during the teacher shortage, right?
Yes, I said, I thought you needed people.
So, as I said, people doing the job. Because I hear, and I know that is true, you know, and that is, tell me this won't get you upset. So they come before you and they say, we need applicants. We need people to apply for these jobs. We need applicants, and we need people to come home, and we have a shortage of workers, blah, 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 blah. And 10 people tell me that they apply, they have a degree, they have this or that. And you're calling like, well, why are you not processing this person? And it's excuses. So that must get you upset. You know, you're to the point like, really? Why are you consistently saying that you need this and that when we have individuals
or this
that you can hire? Right, she's a perfect example.
Perfect example. She should have called her senator.
She should have called me. A man, no, she should have called me. That I should have get her through. But you think we should be waiting to hire somebody for a receptionist for a year? entry-level position. You're telling me there's nobody you can find to be a receptionist?
Well,
You can't just go to the high. I asked them, and I give a really good example. Then 2015, I passed the Bachelor of Science in Nursing degree for St. Croix because it wasn't a degree here or just an associate. And if you pass NCLEX with an associate, you can move up in certain leadership position because you only have the associate. So we needed the BSN. Passed the BSN. Enrollment started to pick up. We had 14 graduates last year. But up to 3 years ago, they were graduating and then not hired and then going to private entities or leaving the island because they weren't given a job. So we met with the hospital. As they graduate, offer every single student that graduate a job. Make them the student nurse. Allow them X amount of time to take NCLEX. And when they take NCLEX and they pass, they move up to the salary. But you keep them there. You hire them. You provide training. You provide the education for the testing. And they started that 3 years ago, and it worked. Most of the graduates went to the hospital to work. So we had individuals graduate to biology, math degree. I would be there recruiting every single student for UVI because I have a teacher shortage. Hey, come and work for me. I don't know what you want to do 5 years from now, but I need you right now. I could provide you a job right now. So we need to go after these individuals.
So, Senator, unfortunately, we don't have enough time to tap all of your knowledge and experience. It's been almost an hour, and people ain't gonna watch past 5 minutes anyways.
Right.
I could tease my population. But I want to open the floor for Ms. Nazira. You have any last thoughts or questions for Senator? He doesn't have to answer, just something for him to go with.
Sir?
Something for him to go with.
I want disrespect.
What?
Sir.
Okay, we just spoke about the pipeline from schools to the hospital. I know WAPA has recently been doing their internship pipeline where I don't remember what the degree program is, engineering, where you go to WAPA. Are there other pipelines that you think we should have call to actions for? So let's say I work at DPNR. What would be pipelines that you think they should tap into?
The first one, before I go to DPNR, is teachers. We really need to come up with a creative solution to be able to develop local teachers.
Pay them more money.
That's not always. We got to get it instilled because if you ask 30 students in 10th grade what they want to become, you might hear one that say they want to become a teacher. So there's a different level of exposure and support that we need. A lot of people are scared to teach, And teaching is a field. You don't get no overtime, you don't get anything, but you put in a tremendous amount of hours. In DPNR, those specific positions to CZM and EPA and all of those are positions I think we really need to find qualified individuals, and we need to have those incentives and that appropriate pay to have, and I would say hopefully Virgin Islanders in those positions. We want the Virgin Islands environment to stay pristine. And we need to make sure that we have individuals who are going to do that. Because if you don't, then you lose your island. There was a time that Great Pan was a great place, Most people even know, but Great Pan has closed in. So we need to open it up. There was a time when there were a lot of regulations in terms of fishing. There's still regulations, but the enforcement arm has decreased. And you could run into the possibility of losing certain species. So the specific, we have to wake up and be serious about everything Virgin Islands and say, hey, we want to see this, we want to see that. We need to make sure that this is how we're going to grow moving forward, or we're going to end up with the situation that we have now. Individuals complain, why do we have so much Filipino teachers? Because we don't have locals that apply for the job.
Well, locals that are applying but not getting the job.
Yes.
So we need to clarify.
No, but overall, though, I mean, somehow she didn't get it, but overall, the applicants are low. I could tell you that. Especially in special ed, in math, in science, the applicants are low. So now you go into a school and you see maybe 30% of the teachers are Filipinos. So we have to do something about that. We were able to decrease the number of traveling nurses. 8 years back, we had a lot of travelers. You're able to decrease that because of the BSN program and other programs like that. But we need to overall look at our needs to make sure that we have individuals who are going to fill those gaps. The trades is a big area. Plumbing, carpentry, all of that. We have Virgin Islanders that want to do plumbing, they want to do electricity, but they don't want to get certified. They don't want to go to the next level and become certified. And that's where the money is.
Mm-hmm.
But so we got to be pushing. And so I've been pushing anybody that I know. Okay, you got at electricity, go to the next level, man. Go to school and become certified. And we got to push our young people to be able to meet their potential, because you could see that they want structure.
Okay.
They want structure.
Mikey,
I'll
last
leave with
thoughts?
this. My thoughts is, I think the Virgin Islands community and its leaders need to have a very serious and open and honest conversation to what's going on in the VI. I understand that we play chess, so we attempt to play chess, so we get the factions, we get the kings, we all of the pieces on the board play a role. But I think we have to get back to what is public service. You serve the public, and I think it's about time that I understand, y'all, the governor, whatever may beef y'all may have, whatever discord it may be. It's time to put that aside and actually come together. You could say it in a hearing, you could whatever, I don't care. Just have a conversation and really start. And I understand town halls don't fix everything, not everything gonna show up, but really start speaking to this community and really opening up the door to really understanding what is going on, what are the solutions, and really take a step towards outreaching. Like, put your hand out there, because you're going to see that people say, wow, the governor and the senators and this together, like, that's not really something you see. And have that conversation. You'll start hearing these people open up about issues and stories. And you got people, of course, that are going to cuss and complain. But you're going to really meet people that have ideas and ingenuity and may surprise you. 2, you'll have people that you really understand, like, there's a real paradigm problem. You hear about it, but until you see the look on somebody's faces going through it, I think it changes the thing. And then when you really start coming together, not only for optics, but it allows for, I don't know what the word is. Maybe you could give me a word, Rich. I don't. It would just I know it would do something positive. They would also bring interest to the issues. Of course, I know consortium, everybody gonna write really good articles about painting these issues, but they're not issues when you're bringing them to community to tell them this is what it is and this is what it ain't. And we need y'all as much as we need ourselves to come together. And I really think if we had that cohesiveness, you'd see something happen, because we have to get back some lightning in the bottle. We just have to figure out how.
All right. My Christmas list shot. 2 things. I think the senators need to activate those committee budgets to gather more local data on these topics before they go before testifiers and present legislation. Working in the 28th legislature, I realized that every committee has its own budget. And depending on where you sit on those committees, sometimes that senator gets a little bit more, because I think, like, if you're rules and judiciary, you get a little extra.
Finance gets more.
You get finance gets more. Senate president got the biggest little cushion.
Senate president get the.
Without naming names, I know for a fact that all senators don't utilize those funds in the way that would allow them to be informed about what the community's sentiments may be on a particular topic. So I would like that data. Mikey, let me talk through.
So you're a data person.
I published 2 years back to back the USVI COVID Economic Impact Report. Surveyed over 500 businesses in the territory. Used Department of Labor's and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So DOL locally and BLS nationally. Did longitudinal studies for 5 and 10 years. Wrapped that together with the survey that we had. And I was actively trying to get it to senators. Ask me if anybody took it. Not one. And I knew they had the budgets to pay for it. I was running a for-profit business. But it wasn't any exorbitant fee that I didn't already see them paying other people tens of thousands of dollars for studies that they keep doing over and over again. And it broke my heart, because 1, I knew that the mechanisms for getting that information was instilled in your bylaws. 2, the budget was there. And 3, I'm a local producing local data. Why shouldn't you use this information to address one of the craziest times in the Virgin Islands and the global history? Whispers on cricket. So 1 is more local data on your issues before you go up there. And 2, this is a crazy wish list. I would love to see the Office of Inspector General stand on its own with teeth. Senator, reading those audits and reports from the Office of Inspector General is like reading nighttime goosebump stories. What money in tech which director was spending thousands of dollars in holidays in St. Lucia,
But they don't have the power to
but they
prosecute.
don't have. That's my point.
So that leads to a different issue because they can't prosecute, and the Attorney General falls directly under
Once
the government.
like I said, it's a crazy wish
don't,
list.
and we do not, based on the Organic Act, we can't elect an Attorney General because in the Organic Act it's saying that this is the process. So I'm hoping that a lot of those issues are going to be cleared up
in the Constitution.
in the Constitution. But in reference to a senator budget, your budget, a large part of your budget goes for your staff. And then a next large part is actually holding the meetings and paying for transportation and paying for this. So by the time you're done, you really got ministry. You don't know. Sometimes if you're a person that have meetings, and when I ran finance, I had 44 hearings a year. So you exhaust a lot of your budget. So one of the key that you try to do, and I encourage everybody, is to hire staff that's capable
and competent, not your friend or your sister, your baby mother.
The individuals working in my office are my former students, and their degree, they're competent, the ability to research, etc. Excellent, But you got to surround yourself with people that understand. And to be a senator, you need to love reading, because you just need to read, and read again in order to understand the complexities of all of the issues. Because you don't want to ask a question, but you didn't read, so you can't follow up. When you ask a question, you're supposed to know the answer.
And we've seen examples of
so. It's a lot, and I'm hoping that we continue to grow. I'm the majority leader. I definitely have been holding meetings and discussing strategies and discussing, how we could grow, what we need to do to hold government accountable, what we need to do to cooperate and get things going. In March, we had a meeting we requested a meeting with the governor, and the meeting was just to discuss the possible cuts to federal funds. And we had a meeting, our concerns, and Governor, what are your concerns? So there's not, the relationship is there. Issues are different. The issues that we are going to all agree on, and the issues that we are not going to agree on. But the importance of being able to decide the path moving forward is clearly shown in Washington right now, where the Republican Party is in lockstep with the president. So let's cut NPR. Let's reduce SNAP. Let's reduce this. And instead of them saying, hey, you're going too far, you can't do this,
they're running
because he's saying, well, if you don't pass it, I'm going to make sure that you're not elected. I'm going to put somebody to run against you in the primary. So you're seeing a collapse. You're cutting U.S. aid. You're out of UNESCO. You're out of You're out of all these organizations that have done well. And you're out of these while they are educated individuals that's backing you because they're scared to make a decision. Anytime the Virgin Islands reach to that point where is everybody just scared to make a decision, it's time for me to leave, because then we're not going to be able to move forward.
So if I see you leaving, I should leave too?
I mean, I might be leaving for different reasons. But we got to be able to sit and make the hard decisions. Okay, there was a little chastise about the insurance, the special session coming up. The Senate isn't, they haven't met, they need to do this, we'll save $20 million. Okay, the flip side is, it's called self-pay. You got to pay, and you got to pay on time. So we had a meeting, and I was like, okay, we need to do the necessary research, like you said, because if we miss a period and we don't pay, everybody insurance gone. Can we afford a 2-week period of not having insurance, or you need chemo, you need dialysis, you need this, you need that? So it's not something that we are going to rush. We have to make sure that if we decide to go in that direction, that we have the capacity to make those payments, and we are never going to jeopardize insurance of the people of the Virgin Islands.
Awesome.
Because after the hurricane, we didn't pay Cigna for 4 or 5 months. We owed them like $80 million. But they kept us afloat. And they have done that time in and time out. When we shot a month, we shot this, Cigna pays everything. United Healthcare pays everything. So we got to be careful as to how we make those decisions, because these are far-reaching implications. So when people just say, hey, well, you need to pass this, no. We need to have that justification, so we bring in the professionals. And we have a contract, United Healthcare. They're going to be there. Cigna going to be there. Our consultant that we pay $175,000 or $200,000, they're going to be there. The board is going to be there, and then we'll make a decision. And I think that's how you need to go through everything. But I want to, because I know we're wrapping up. The biggest factor facing the Virgin Islands now is that we have access to billions, not millions of dollars, billions. And that billions of dollars changing a lot of stuff because everybody wants to be able to spend the money and control the spending of the money. So you have all of the money being funneled through one entity, which is ODR, right? So the hospital put together a territorial redevelopment committee with former Commissioner Smiles. They're supposed to be over the hospital redevelopment. They took that and they literally put it to ODR. ODR, you're going to put out the
super project manager. Yeah.
And then they fired 5 individuals in St. Croix who were working in that division and trying to keep them accountable. They ended up terminating those individuals. WAPA is going through ODR. So when you look at all of that, I'm like, okay, and then ODR is running the Envision program. ODR is running they buy a lot, build a lot. They're running that particular program. So this is what upsets me. And I'll give you the easiest example. Housing Finance Authority was over the Envision program. The Envision program wasn't moving. Limited movement, maybe 20 homes built, they weren't doing what they're supposed to do. The individual running Virgin Islands Housing Finance Authority was replaced. They brought somebody down from the mainland to take that person's position. And they took Envision and they gave it to ODR. And Adrian has done a better job with it. She has done a way better job with getting it moving. But the same person that was removed.
Gone to ODR?
No. Still working with Housing Finance Authority. And when I looked at the position in the budget that got me upset, that person's salary was increased to $200,000. So the same person that failed, that you had to bring in somebody, and you took the program out of Housing Finance Authority and put it to ODR, that person now making $200,000. So I said, like, hey, I saw this budget, and I wasn't in the Senate, but I pulled up last year's budget. They were making $140,000. They're now making $200,000. What's up? Well, you'll be happy to know that we combine 2 positions, and we're going to pay that person more money, and it's worth it because we're saving money. But a person failed in the position before. So now my mind is like, so what? We rewarding failure?
Yeah, loyalty over progress.
But when you say that, then they're saying you're not a team player. How can you be a team player when you see that? You're just pointing out, hey, let's stop. Let's stop and let's just hold people accountable. If you do your job, just do your job.
Well, Senator, one second. I think we will need to bring you. If you are welcome, if you want to. I'm thankful for your openness, your ability to be candid with us. You did say some things that I feel would not have been easily said on the Senate floor. And we all know now to watch for the text messages during the hearings. Out the secret a little bit.
Anybody look like they shifted?
Anybody too much? Pay attention to them. 340 comics, make sure pay attention. We have a dialogue. Nazira, thank you once again for coming out. Mikey, Senator. If I actually lasted to the end, I commend y'all. We're probably going to break this up in part 1 and part 2. But hey, anyways, stay vigilant. Pay attention to these guys. He's saying watch him like a hawk because his job is to do our job.
Yeah.
So thanks again. Dialogue.
Happy to know.
Bye.